Hi and welcome back. I am continuing from chapter 12 in Genesis, so now we're going into chapter 13. We're going to see how Abram and Lot split land and what comes from that. Hi, my name is Crystal and my channel is Unmuted Grace, and welcome in. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment with what you thought about it. And let's go ahead and get into it. So we're going to start in chapter 13. Keep in mind, I'm not a preacher or teacher. I'm just here doing some Bible study with you so you don't feel alone in doing it and get excited about the Word. So we're going to just hop right in for time's sake. We're going to start in chapter 13. We're going to read, I'm not sure, but let's just do it. Okay, so chapter 13, starting in verse 1. So Abram went up from Egypt to Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Do you remember from chapter 12 when God said, "Go from your country and your people and your father's household to the land I will show you"? So he wasn't supposed to bring Lot. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock, silver, and gold. From the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, so that the place between Bethel and Ai were his tent and had earlier been, and where he had built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. So Abram came back from Egypt with great riches, but he was back where he started, which means the trip to Egypt for him was wasted. And that was an enduring word commentary. So Abram called on the name of the Lord from the altar to show his dependence, to acknowledge God's guidance and promises. Now Lot was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, but the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at the time. So once again, Lot wasn't supposed to go, and they started arguing between the two groups. And it's likely that the herdsmen had to struggle over resources, which shows that sometimes prosperity can have its challenges. And that's from the Bible Hub reference. Free app, by the way. I love it. It also has a website, biblehub.com. So let's get back in verse 8. So Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." So right there we see how Abram wanted unity. He gave Lot the pick of the land, not out of fear, but out of love and trust for God. A big amount of land didn't matter to a man who lived in an eternal perspective. Abraham knew whatever land he got, God would make it prosperous. He wasn't going to make the same mistake that he made in Egypt and trust his own judgment this time. He used wisdom. How many times have we done something and trusted our own judgment and then turned out that it did not turn out the way we wanted it to? So it's, you know how the scripture goes, lean on not your own understanding. And Abram learned his lesson, and this time he decided to trust God. Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan and Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out towards the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people near Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. So Lot made a choice based on his view of what he could see. He didn't really think about the consequences of his family. But I just kind of wonder, did he know that he was making a bad choice? If you were in that situation, would you choose the bigger land, or would you have let Abram choose the bigger land? Kind of glad he didn't choose the bigger land, but which side of the fence would you have been on? But we know he did make a choice based on appearance alone. And we will read later on how he became the leader of this place. The land of Sodom being full of evil, and they were opposing God. So, verse 14. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Look around from where you are, to the north, to the south, to the east and west. All the land that you will see, I will give to you and your offspring forever." So did you notice God made that promise to him after Lot left? "I will make your offspring like dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go walk through the length and the breadth of the land, so I am giving it to you." So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre and Hebron, where he pitched his tent. There he built an altar to the Lord. So God saw that Lot took the bigger land, but when Lot left, God was like, "Hey, this is all yours." But he had to have Lot leave before God could show him the promise. So when Abram was told that God will make his offspring like dust of the earth, that was probably a little surprising for a man his age. But Abram walked by faith, not by sight. And I have a commentary here. Abram built his first altar at Shechem near the Oak of Moreh after God appeared to him and promised the land to his descendants, Genesis 12:7. His second altar was at the hill country east of Bethel, where he called on the name of the Lord, Genesis 12:8. And now we see he built his third altar as a response to God's renewed promise. And that is the rest of chapter 13. What were your thoughts on that? Would you have chosen the prettier land? It reminds me of a time in, I think, 4th grade when we had a teacher who had 2 boxes. And she had everybody stand in line. Which box do you want? She had one wrapped in the most beautiful wrapping. And then she had one wrapped with old newspaper. So everybody stood in the line with the beautiful wrapping paper. I did too. Hello, it's pretty. So she said, you can have whatever's in each box. So when we opened the pretty box, it had, I think maybe, I can't remember, but it was something that 4th graders would be disappointed in. But I specifically remember the ugly box had bubble gum in it. You know, the one with the yellow wrapper and the pink twisties at the end? That was the best bubble gum. And I was really sad that we didn't get any. I don't remember if she ends up giving us any or not, but I do remember that specific moment. And the lesson in that was to try understanding something or looking at something before really basing it off appearance. So come back in the next video, chapter 14. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when I post the next video. I'm trying to get them out a little faster, but with summertime it's a little harder, and I do apologize. But I'm working on it, so just give me a little grace and we'll get those out. Until next time, stay rooted in faith and walking in grace. Bye.